The Cracked Bucket. A long, long time ago, in a small and peaceful village at the foot of the mountains, there lived an old man who carried water every morning from the river up to his home, perched high on a hill. His tools were 2 clay buckets, hanging from each end of a worn wooden pole that he balanced across his shoulders, bent and weary from the years. One of the buckets was perfectly intact. The other, however, had a small crack on its side. Each time the old man climbed the hill, the water from the cracked bucket would slowly leak out, leaving a quiet trail along the dusty path. Still, day after day, the old man used both buckets without complaint, never trying to fix or replace the broken one. The cracked bucket, filled with sorrow and shame, watched helplessly as the other arrived full each time, while it emptied itself along the way. Over time, the broken bucket's sadness grew so deep that one morning, as the sun barely peeked through the trees, it spoke to the old man with a trembling voice. "Forgive me, old friend. Every day you lose part of your effort because of me. I'm not worthy of carrying your water. I'm broken." The old man smiled gently. He stopped beneath the shade of a cypress tree and looked back at the path they had just walked. "Do you truly believe you failed?" he said softly. "Would you like me to show you something?" Then, the old man leaned down and pointed with his wrinkled finger to the edge of the path behind them. The bucket, still sad but now curious, looked toward where the old man was pointing. On one side of the path, bathed in the golden morning light, stretched a row of tiny wildflowers. Blue, violet, and white, they swayed gently in the breeze, as if just waking from the night's dream. "Do you see?" the old man said. "Only this side of the path is filled with life. For a long time, I carried seeds in my pocket, and each day, as we walked together, I let them fall where your water trickled." The cracked bucket fell silent. The old man continued in a calm and steady voice. "Because of your crack, this path has bloomed with beauty. What seemed like a flaw was actually a hidden gift. You don't need to be perfect to have a purpose." The flowers kept swaying softly, as if they understood the secret that had been shared. And for the first time, the cracked bucket felt no shame, felt peace. From that day on, the cracked bucket no longer mourned the flaw that ran through its side. Each morning, as they walked down to the river and climbed back up the hill, it no longer counted the drops it lost, but the flowers it left blooming behind. It began to notice how children from the village would pick those flowers and carry them home, how bees danced between the petals, and how even the elderly would stop to rest beside the path, surrounded by that quiet, blooming peace. The bucket then understood a deep truth, like a whisper carried from the heart of the forest. No one is truly broken when they give something to the world. Even what we see as a flaw can become a gift, if we learn to see it with compassion. And so, with each step, the bucket no longer felt the burden of its imperfection, but began to float light and free, as if its soul were swaying gently with the wind. Time flowed on, like the river that never stops. The seasons shifted gently. Spring brought new blossoms. Summer bathed them in sunlight. Autumn wrapped them in golden leaves, and winter covered them with its quiet, white silence. Through them all, the cracked bucket continued to serve its purpose. It never stopped leaking. It never stopped blooming. And though the crack remained visible and real, it no longer hurt. It was part of its story, part of the path, part of the miracle. The old man, wise and patient, never wished to change it, because he understood that some imperfections are not meant to be fixed, but accepted, understood, and honored for the gifts they bring to the world. One evening, as the sky turned shades of pink and the air smelled of damp earth, the bucket asked the old man, "Why did you never replace me? You could have found a new one, and yet you kept trusting me." The old man paused, and with a voice as gentle as a stream's whisper, he replied, "Because you didn't need to be replaced. You just needed to be seen. What you called a flaw, I saw as an opportunity. Each of us carries a crack, and through it, the light finds its way." The bucket held those words inside, as if they were pure, healing water. It finally understood that true love doesn't demand perfection. It asks for presence. It doesn't seek to fix, but to walk beside. And that night, as the sun slipped away and the first stars appeared in the sky, the bucket felt whole, despite its crack. As the years passed, the path became a wild garden. Flowers of every color grew freely, and the trail was no longer just a route to carry water, but a sacred space of beauty and quiet reflection. Sometimes people from the village would climb the hill just to walk there. They paused to breathe in the scent of the blossoms, to listen to the hum of bees, or to close their eyes and let the wind touch their souls. No one knew that it had all begun because of a cracked bucket. But that didn't matter, because true wisdom doesn't seek recognition, it simply longs to give. And the bucket, now old but full of meaning, knew its journey had been worth it. Every drop, every step, every flower. One morning, the old man didn't walk down to the river. The sun peeked shyly over the hills. The flowers opened their petals, waiting for his steps, but the path remained silent. The bucket, hanging in its usual corner, understood without a word. The old man's time had come, and yet there was no sadness, because every step they had shared, every drop that was spilled, every flower that bloomed along the way, had been a tribute to life itself. The bucket knew the story hadn't been just his, nor the old man's, but belonged to everyone who had learned to see beauty in what appears to be broken. And so, as the sun slowly rose over the mountains, the bucket remained at peace, knowing that love, patience, and acceptance had helped the world around them bloom. And so, the cracked bucket remained in its corner, a humble guardian of silence, quietly reminding anyone willing to listen that you don't need to be perfect to leave a mark. Sometimes the cracks in our hearts are the very channels through which compassion flows, and what we often see as weakness is, in truth, a bridge to others. As you close your eyes tonight, think of your own cracks and all that has blossomed because of them. There's nothing to fix, nothing to heal, only a life unfolding, drop by drop, step by step, simply by being. Sleep in peace, like the bucket that once dreamed of flowers and woke up to find they had already bloomed.